At 2:17 a.m., I saw someone on the security cameras. A man was standing in front of a closed clothing store on the second floor of the mall. That was impossible. The mall closed at 9 p.m. I personally locked every entrance, sealed the service doors, and switched the building into night mode. The alarm system was active. No alerts, no break-in warnings, nothing. The figure on the screen wasn't moving. He was standing perfectly still, directly under the dim emergency light. At first, I told myself it was a glitch. The cameras in that mall were old, sometimes delayed, sometimes freezing. I switched to another camera, then I switched back to camera 6. The man was closer. Not walking. Not stepping forward. Just closer to the lens. My throat went dry. The security room suddenly felt smaller, like the air itself was thinning. I zoomed in on the image. The man didn't have a face. There was no mouth. No eyes. Just a smooth, dark shape where his face should have been, like someone had erased it completely. I reached for my radio to call my supervisor. That's when every camera monitor began to beep at the same time. Each screen showed a different hallway inside the mall. Long, empty, lit by weak night lights. And at the far end of every single hallway stood the same figure, facing the cameras, watching. Then, slowly, every monitor switched to one final feed. The security room. My security room. And on the screen, I could see myself sitting exactly where I was sitting now. But the camera angle didn't exist. And behind the version of me on the screen, something was standing in the dark. I don't remember how long I stared at the screen. Seeing myself on the monitor should have been impossible. There was no camera inside the security room. There never had been. I stood up so fast my chair fell backward, crashing into the wall. The screen went black. All the cameras returned to normal. Empty hallways, silent escalators, locked storefronts. Camera 6 showed nothing now. Just a still image of the clothing store entrance. I told myself I imagined it. That's when the radio crackled. "Don't move," my supervisor said. I hadn't pressed the button. "How did you?" I started. "Listen carefully," he interrupted. His voice was low, tight, like he was trying not to be heard. "Tonight is your first solo night shift, right?" "Yes." There was a pause. "Then you were never supposed to see camera 6. My stomach dropped. He told me there were rules. Rules that weren't written anywhere. Rules every night guard learned the hard way or didn't survive long enough to pass on. Rule 1. If you see movement on camera 6 after 2 a.m., do not investigate. Rule 2. Never rewind the footage. Rule 3. If the mall speaks to you, do not answer. I asked him what he meant by the mall speaks. Another pause. "Has it said your name yet?" The lights above me flickered. Before I could answer, the radio died with a sharp burst of static. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. At 2:33 a.m. I didn't answer. The voicemail notification appeared instantly, like it had been waiting. The message was 10 seconds long. At first, there was only breathing. Slow, wet, close. Then a voice whispered, perfectly calm, "You're sitting in my room." The message ended. At that exact moment, camera 6 turned back on. The figure was no longer in the hallway. It was standing directly outside the security room door. And this time, it was facing the handle. I didn't breathe. The security room door was less than 3 feet from where I stood. Thick metal, one handle, no window. On camera 6, the figure stood inches away from it, perfectly still, its head tilted slightly, like it was listening. I told myself cameras lie. Then the handle moved. Not turning, not pulling, just a small, deliberate twitch. My radio burst to life again. "Do not open the door," my supervisor said. He was breathing hard now. "No matter what you hear." I whispered, "It's right outside." "I know," he said. "It always is by the third night." Third night. I asked him what happened to the guards before me. They rewound the footage. The lights went out. Not fully. Just enough to drown the room in emergency red. The monitors stayed on. Camera 6 zoomed in by itself. The figure raised one arm. Its fingers were too long, bent in the wrong places. Then it knocked. 3 slow knocks. From the other side of the door, a voice spoke. My voice. "Hey," it said softly. "It's me. Open up." My legs locked. I felt tears burning my eyes, not from fear, but from how convincing it sounded. Same tone, same nervous hitch in the breath. The supervisor screamed through the radio. "Do not answer it." The knocking stopped. Silence. Then I heard footsteps. Inside the security room. Behind me. I spun around. Nothing. But on the monitors, every single camera now showed the same thing. The security room. From different angles. Angles that shouldn't exist. On one screen, I saw myself standing frozen near the door. On another, I saw my back. On a third, I saw the empty corner behind me. And in that corner, something was peeling itself out of the darkness. The radio crackled one last time. "If you rewind now," my supervisor whispered, "you'll see when it entered." My hand hovered over the controls. The rewind button blinked, and the door handle began to turn. I pressed rewind. The footage jumped back 10 seconds. Nothing. 20. Still nothing. 30 seconds. Then the screen stuttered. A loud digital click echoed through the room, like the cameras themselves were nervous. On camera 6, the hallway was empty again. No figure, no shadow, just polished tile and flickering lights. I exhaled for the first time in what felt like minutes. Then the timestamp changed. 2 hours, 13 minutes, and 7 seconds. The air in the room dropped instantly, cold enough to sting my lungs. The camera didn't rewind smoothly anymore. It skipped like something was fighting it. 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 58 seconds. The hallway lights flickered once. 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 54 seconds. A shadow appeared on the wall. Not a body. Not a shape. Just a shadow. Stretching the wrong direction, bending against the light. My supervisor whispered, "Pause it." I did. The shadow twitched. I hadn't unpaused. "Zoom," he said. My fingers shook as I zoomed in. The shadow had fingers. Long ones. They were crawling across the wall like spiders, dragging the rest of the darkness behind them. 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 51 seconds. The shadow reached the security room door. But the door didn't open. Instead, the shadow slid under it, straight into the room. My chest tightened. "That's impossible." "You're watching the entry," my supervisor said. "It never comes from the halls." The footage continued on its own now. 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 49 seconds. The camera angle shifted, without any camera moving. The feed was suddenly inside the security room. I saw myself sitting in the chair, tired, rubbing my eyes, completely unaware. Behind me, something stood up. It didn't step forward. It unfolded, like it had always been there, compressed into the dark. Its face was unfinished, smooth in places, broken in others, and when it opened its mouth, the audio cut out. Every monitor went black at once. The emergency lights died. I was alone in full darkness. And right next to my ear, something breathed. Not fast. Not slow. Like it had all the time in the world. The radio crackled softly. "You see it now," my supervisor said. His voice was calm, too calm. "It's already inside with you." The door handle behind me clicked. The darkness pressed against me. I could feel it. Not like air, not like a shadow, but weight, like someone or something was leaning just behind me. I dared not move. My fingers clutched the edge of the desk, nails digging into the metal. My heart was a jackhammer, echoing in my skull. Every breath felt stolen. Then I heard it. A faint scrape, metal on tile, coming from nowhere. I turned my head slowly. Nothing. But the chair behind me was moving. It wasn't rocking in the air currents. It was pushed, just slightly, like someone had rested a hand on the backrest. I swallowed. My throat was dry. The monitors flickered. One came back online. Camera 6. The figure was closer, not standing in the hallway anymore. It was at the doorway, watching, waiting. Then it did something I didn't think a thing without flesh could do. It raised one hand and tapped the doorframe. 3 times, slow, deliberate. I whispered to the radio, "It's at the door." "Do not open it," my supervisor screamed. The chair creaked again. Something was sitting down, heavy. And then my own voice, coming from the chair behind me. Soft, calm, familiar. "Don't worry," it said. "I just want to talk." I vomited fear and adrenaline at the same time. I reached for the monitors. Something instinctual, desperate. Check the cameras. Camera 6, the only one that mattered, showed me. Sitting in the chair, watching myself. The thing in the room wasn't me, though. It mimicked me, perfectly. Every movement, every twitch, but it wasn't right. The eyes, black holes. The mouth stretched slightly too wide. I realized it had already copied my heartbeat, my breathing, the slight tremor in my hand. I thought the worst was over. I thought maybe it had retreated. I was wrong. The door handle to the security room began to turn, slowly, deliberately, as if testing me, measuring my fear. I froze. My blood ran cold. Every instinct screamed to move, to run, but my legs wouldn't obey. Then came the first knock. Soft, single, tap. The second knock followed almost immediately. And then the third, harder, louder, echoing through the empty hallways. The sound wasn't outside the door, it was inside, vibrating the walls, the floor, my chest. I tried the radio. Static, only static. Then I heard it. A voice, not my supervisor, not me, something else, deep, hollow, slithering. "Come out." I didn't answer. I couldn't. The door began to move on its own, swinging just enough to crack open. A sliver of darkness spilled into the room. Not normal darkness, it pulsed, alive, as if it were breathing. From the crack, I saw it. The figure. Closer than ever. Its head tilted unnaturally, limbs bending in ways they shouldn't. Every movement was fluid but impossible, like liquid shadow. Its face, still incomplete, smiled. A slow, cruel, knowing smile. I stumbled back, hitting the desk. My monitor feeds flickered. And then I saw the impossible. Camera 6, the only camera that mattered, was now showing the room from inside the wall, and it wasn't empty. The shadow stood where I was. The shadow mimicked every move I made. I tried to run to the far corner. It followed. Faster. Every step it took was quiet but heavy. I could feel it, dragging itself through the room, through the air, through the very fabric of the walls. The air thickened. My vision tunneled. The lights flickered wildly, casting grotesque shapes across the room. My own chair twisted toward the doorway. Then I felt it behind me, something cold, sharp, tangible. Not a finger, a hand, or what could pass for one, pressed against my shoulder, hard, immovable. I screamed. The monitors all went black. The door handle clicked again. And slowly, the door creaked open. Wide enough to let in something that shouldn't exist. And standing there, in the doorway, was the entire darkness of the mall itself, condensed, pulsating, alive. And it looked directly at me. The room was silent. Too silent. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears, drowning out everything else. But then, there it was. A pull. Something invisible gripped my ankle. Hard, like ice fingers wrapped around my flesh. My chair tipped backward, and I slammed to the floor. Pain shot up my spine. I screamed into the radio, but only static came back. Then I felt it again, higher, around my wrist. My arms were pinned to the desk. The weight of it, of something alive but not alive, pressed down. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe properly. The air itself seemed to thicken. Camera 6 flickered back to life, and I saw it. closer than ever, in the corner of the room that shouldn't exist. Its shape bending reality, limbs twisting unnaturally, black eyes fixed on me. It moved like smoke. No legs, no normal motion, just a flowing, inhuman crawl. And yet, every step it made sounded like my own heartbreaking. I remembered the first rule: never rewind footage. I tried to ignore it, tried to force myself to stay calm. Then it touched me. Not with fingers, not with hands. Something cold, wet, and sharp pressed against my neck, my cheek. I could feel pressure on my chest, pushing, forcing the air out. My own reflection in the monitors screamed silently. I don't know how long I struggled. Minutes? Hours? Time blurred. Then I noticed it. The cameras. They weren't just showing me anymore. They were showing the future. Camera 6, a hand emerging from the wall. Not mine, yet familiar. Camera 4, me falling out of the chair. Camera 1, the door handle turning slowly, even though the door was locked. It knew. It knew every possibility, every movement I would make, every twitch, every breath. I felt it whisper inside my skull, "You cannot escape me." The weight lifted for a split second. My hands were free. I scrambled to the door. It hit the glass window of the inner office, a solid, wet, thudding sound. Then it was gone. For a heartbeat. And when I looked back at camera 6, it was sitting in my chair, smiling, waiting. The doorway widened, not physically, but it felt wider, like the walls themselves had bowed to let it in. I stumbled backward, tripping over the desk. Papers, cables, everything scattered across the floor. But it didn't matter. The darkness moved, not like a shadow. Like liquid, creeping along every surface, climbing walls, dripping from the ceiling. It had volume, substance, intent. I looked at the monitors. Every camera feed flickered, then froze. Except one. Camera 6. I saw myself again, sitting. But something was different. My eyes were black holes. My mouth stretched into a silent scream. My head twisted slightly, unnaturally. And I realized that was what it wanted me to become. I turned toward the doorway. And the eyes came. Not on the figure, on the walls, the floor, the ceiling, hundreds of them, tiny glowing red pinpricks. Following me, tracking every move. I raised my hands to my face. They appeared on my skin, my arms, my neck. Hundreds of tiny eyes staring back at me, blinking in perfect synchronization. A low rumble filled the room, the sound of walls bending, of glass cracking, of air tearing apart. I backed into the far corner. The darkness pooled like water at my feet. It formed shapes, human-like figures, twisted and tall, reaching for me with impossible limbs. And then one touched me. I don't know how. Not through my skin, not physically, but my entire body froze, my blood turned to ice, my chest locked tight. I could see it through my own eyes. My vision shifted. The room wasn't real anymore. It was its space. I could feel it, living in my head, reshaping reality. I tried to scream. My mouth wouldn't move. The monitors flickered again. Camera 6 zoomed in on the chair. I was sitting there, calm, waiting. But behind me, the darkness had a face identical to mine, twisted, smiling, hollow. It whispered, directly into my mind, "You're already mine." Then the lights went out. Completely. The eyes didn't vanish. They were inside me now, watching, following, waiting. And I understood there was no escape, not through doors, not through walls, not even through the cameras. I was trapped, alone, and entirely visible. The darkness was no longer just watching. It lunged. I felt the air shift behind me before I even saw it. A massive force slammed into my back. I hit the floor with a crack that rattled the walls. Pain exploded through my shoulder, my ribs, my leg. I tried to push myself up, but something heavy held me down. Not a hand, not claws, just a weight. Solid, alive. My monitors went haywire. Camera 6 flashed, then froze, then warped, and I saw it again. My chair, empty, but somehow moving, rolling slowly toward the door on its own. The darkness poured over it like ink, swallowing it whole. I scrambled to the wall. My fingers touched something wet. Blood? No, not mine. Not yet. Something else. A trail of red-black liquid stretched across the floor toward the doorway. It whispered. Not in words. Not in my voice. In thoughts. Sharp. Jagged. Cutting through my mind. You can't hide. You can't fight. You belong to me. I screamed. The monitors all came back online at once. Each feed showed the room, but not as it was. Papers floating, desk legs bending unnaturally, cables stretched across the ceiling like wires from another dimension. And my shadow, my real shadow, was on the wall, twisting, moving independently, reaching for the darkness at the doorway. The handle moved again. Slowly, purposefully, like it knew I was watching, like it could sense my panic. I lunged for the radio, static. My own voice screamed back at me. Then I felt it touch my face, cold, sharp, wet. Its fingers, or what felt like fingers, pressing against my eyes, my jaw, my neck. I gasped. My vision flickered. Through the flicker, I saw it clearly. The figure, my figure, was standing inside the security room, smiling, hollow eyes fixed on me, and behind it, a swarm of black shapes poured in from the walls, ceiling, and floor. Something ripped across my shoulder. I fell sideways. Pain exploded. Blood? Maybe. I couldn't tell anymore. And then, just for a heartbeat, the darkness paused. It let me see it fully. Tall, wrongly shaped, limbs twisted like broken furniture, face half erased, half staring, and all around it, hundreds of eyes blinking in unison, fixed on me. It spoke without a mouth. You thought it was a room. It's not. It's mine. I scrambled backward, hands on the floor, my chair overturned. Papers, cables, monitors, everything twisted, broken, alive. I realized something horrifying. The security room wasn't real anymore. Every wall, every corner, every shadow belonged to it. And it wanted me. Добре. Part 10 із 10. Фінал історії. Англійською. Максимальний кошмар розкриття, фігури відкритий, шоковий фінал, tilde 2500 символів. Part 10. Owned by the darkness. I couldn't move. Couldn't scream. Couldn't breathe properly. The darkness had me. Every inch of it pressed against my skin, my chest, my mind. My own body felt like a puppet, controlled by something infinite and patient. The figure stepped fully into the room, its hollow face inches from mine. I could smell it. Cold metal and wet decay. My eyes locked on its black holes where eyes should have been. And then I saw my reflection. Not in the monitors, not in the glass, in the figure itself. It was me. The limbs twisted wrong, the smile too wide, the eyes too deep, everything familiar, yet terrifying. And I realized the truth. It wasn't just a shadow. It wasn't just a figure. It was the mall itself. Every corner, every hallway, every empty room I had walked through, it had been alive, watching me, learning me, shaping me, collecting me. And tonight, it had finally reached me. I tried to move. My legs, my arms, my hands, they didn't obey. The monitors flickered. Camera 6 showed the doorway, not open, closed, but somehow I could feel it crawling through the wood, through the metal, through the space itself. The figure reached toward me. Not with hands, not with limbs, with everything. The walls, the air, the very shadows in the room, they pressed against my chest, my face, my eyes. And then I heard it, my own voice, echoing. It's time! The lights exploded into darkness. Emergency lamps shattered. The monitors went black. And I felt pulled. Not dragged, not lifted, but absorbed. Into the floor, into the walls, into the shadows. And in the final second of clarity, I saw it all. The mall, alive, breathing, watching, waiting for the next guard. And then, nothing. No sound, no air, no me. Only the monitors flickered back online the next morning. Camera 6. Empty hallway, closed door, silent, clean. And on the floor, in tiny scratches across the tiles, the letters. Next,